So the country has been waiting to find out what Barack Obama is going to do about the questions they have about what's going on with the VA. The medical service is being given to our service members has had some problems. Many of them have been dealt with over the past 10 to 14 years or so, and yet we're finding out about some scandals from different parts of the country that are causing a lot of, I guess, consternation for people who are service members, no service members. And the American Legion in general has identified problems in up to 18 states, but generally the scandal is about what's going on in Phoenix. And as of right now, according to internal emails acquired by CNN, VA managers in Phoenix specifically created a secret wait list in an attempt to hide that 1,400 to 1,600 sick veterans were forced to wait up to months to see a doctor. And they say that even worse, top-level management supposedly knew of and defended the practice. Now, the time it takes for the service members to receive their medical care has been a big problem for a long time, and we understand that needs to be dealt with. But the fact that they were hiding it, and in some cases even it was acknowledged by the people in charge in Phoenix, then that seems to go above and beyond the previous scandals we've had concerning the VA.
Yeah, the big number that's thrown around in the story that CNN is, this is a story CNN has been on as long as anyone, at least on the television side, was that 40 veterans died waiting to receive care. That's the hook that's got everybody in it.
Yeah, that's what they say.
As far as I know, we have not seen a list of those guys. Now, here's why I don't, like, you got to be careful here because it's a really serious story, but of course the VA, our lack of concern and our lack of adequate funding for the VA's biggest problem seems to be, oddly enough, still scheduling. A doctor schedules an appointment and the patient schedules an appointment. It's incredibly complicated. You got to go through a really antiquated system to do it. I don't know, I'm not remotely close to enough of an expert as to why it isn't just the way everyone schedules an appointment where you call and you
Well, they very recently launched sort of a digital modern version of their scheduling software, but
limited, and it needs to be upgraded everywhere. It's 25 years old. It's a crazy system. That's going to cost a ton of money. That's money Republicans just won't spend.
Exactly.
They just won't spend it, and they haven't. Like, I got news for you. Obama would spend twice as much money on the VA.
Most if he was allowed to.
If he was allowed to. Now, has he prioritized it? And does he bear responsibility? He's been president for 5.5 years? Yeah, there's no question. But we also have to remember who's in charge of the VA right now. And who's in charge of the VA is Eric Shinseki, who was the first, I think, one of the first highly decorated and high-ranking officers, generals, in the armed services to come out against the Bush administration, against the Iraq War. He was a darling of progressives for his progressive stance on the war.
So you think that plays into this?
I think that it doesn't, to think that look what happened. We got a story here, and the guy in charge of the story's real. The wait times are real. It's a problem,
and it just might be real.
And what's real is the Phoenix wait list, like that, and a wait list that they're keeping secret, a secret list. And then when somebody on the list died, they apparently were like, they'd be like, no, literally, what guy? Right? So, I mean...
Although, again, the investigations into 17 of those 40 have not yet turned up any soldiers that died because of wait times.
Right.
Still just alleged.
But I'm saying they
point.
still probably scratch guys off the list. Like that, like they're covering up the wait times.
Yeah.
Right? So, but until we see who those guys are and exactly what happened, I don't buy it. I don't buy it because it was so attractive to the right to go get Shinseki. And I don't want to sound...
And Obama as well.
Yeah, and Obama, but Shinseki, but through Shinseki, it's like, it's so...
Yeah. And they have been specifically calling for him to be removed.
That said, the way we treat veterans is because when they get the treatment, they tend to like the treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we've got some numbers on that as well.
So I won't step on every part of the story.
So that's basically what people are so concerned about. Now, we've got some more information that's going to cast a little bit of doubt on the Republican accusations about who exactly is responsible for this, why the problems exist. But before we get to that, yesterday Barack Obama did finally speak about the scandal and what he plans to do going forward. So let's listen to the president.
When I hear allegations of misconduct, any misconduct, whether it's allegations of VA staff covering up long wait times or cooking the books, I will not stand for it. If these allegations prove to be true, it is dishonorable, it is disgraceful, and I will not tolerate it, period. We have to let the investigators do their job and get to the bottom of what happened. Our veterans deserve to know the facts, their families deserve to know the facts. Once we know the facts, I assure you, if there is misconduct, it will be punished. My attitude is, for folks who've been fighting on the battlefield, they should not have to fight a bureaucracy at home to get the care that they've earned. Even as we get to the bottom of what happened at Phoenix and other facilities, all of us, whether here in Washington or all across the country, have to stay focused on the larger mission, which is upholding our sacred trust to all of our veterans, bringing the VA system into the 21st century, which is not an easy task.
Yeah, so not a lot of really specific solutions or fixes there.
Inspirational, though.
Yeah, I'm inspired. But yeah, so look, it's a complicated problem. And the problems with the VA did not just start when Barack Obama entered office. There was a pretty massive restructuring of the VHA in the 90s under Clinton. The guy who was credited with making some of those improvements and innovations was later taken out by Republicans.
Kenneth Kaiser.
Yes. And look, maybe we have a problem with huge backlogs at the VA because a previous president sent us into 2 wars, and now hundreds of thousands of soldiers need medical care as a direct result of that. We shouldn't be surprised that there is going to be more expense and perhaps more waiting as well. We've got some numbers, so let's bring up the claims from 2009 and 2012. You're seeing the total number of claims there obviously far, far higher in 2012 because you have a lot of soldiers coming back from those 2 wars
Yeah, the guy
in
who,
other areas of the world.
Look, one guy started the wars, the other guy ended the wars, and now all the guys are coming home and they need medical care.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a backlog because you guys won't spend a ton more money on it.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a national problem, and I don't want to politicize it, but they started politicizing it. So, and I would love to instantly just say now, let's not politicize it, let's just fix it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to agree
there's
to
no
that.
way we're not. There's no chance of getting joined on that.
And here's the thing: like, we can't avoid that there are very political angles to this. Back in February of this year, Democrats were pushing for this $21 billion bill that would expand medical and educational benefits as well as other benefits to service members. That was voted down by the Republicans. That would have how many service it would have funded 24 additional medical centers. Maybe that would have helped with the backlogs at the VHA, but the Republicans weren't in favor of it. And that's 101. They vote down the things that would stop these problems from being problems, and then when they are problems, they point their finger at Cenk and at Obama.
I don't understand how we can't get across. When you got one party that consistently won't fund protecting the veterans, the same party that sent those guys to war, why on earth that's not a gigantic story every time?
Yeah.
And of course if they did fund it, they'd be like, well, we're going to fund it, but we're going to cut Social Security to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right? No, here's how you do it. You take the tax cuts the Bush gave people, and you restore those tax cuts on the richest Americans, and you want to put all of it right now into veterans care and tell these guys that you sent off to one war we definitely didn't need to fight, which was the more expensive war, by the way, and one war where we had a very specific mission, and we're like, nah, I'd rather not do it because we're going to fight the other war. And fund it and fucking fix it.
Yeah, and by the way, we would probably be perfectly fine as a country if we hadn't engaged in either of them. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. And look, we remember just a couple of years ago, we had the massive debate over funding the first responders that were involved in Manhattan after 9/11. And it was only really because of Jon Stewart's intervention that the Republicans were willing to provide the funding for their medical care. These people love to create the need for medical care. They don't so much like paying for it. You just have to bear that in mind. Now, I don't know exactly how Obama is going to go about reforming this. I mean, overall, care at the VA is pretty highly rated by soldiers, as Ben alluded to earlier on. In general, the people who have to go to these VA medical centers provide higher satisfaction rates than those who go to civilian centers. And over the past couple of years, the number registering complaints with their service has gone down. For inpatient care, I think it was something like 14% down to 11% in the most recent polls. And so, look, it's obviously terrible if there is obviously this malfeasance at this particular Phoenix center and other centers that the American Legion has been able to track down. But that does not mean that the care in general terms is not getting better.
Look, if these guys in Phoenix created a secret list, I'm sure it's a crime.
Yeah.
They go to jail.
Well, and also, Cenk and Obama didn't sign off for it.
Right.
Like, yeah, you got to deal with it.
In fact, what there is enormously strong evidence that the information they sent up to federal officials from the VA in Phoenix told a different story.
Exactly. I mean, after all, it was a secret list, meaning it's unlikely
they knew about it.
And by the way,
if Eric Cenk is not the right guy to lead this right now, and he's not interested in fixing it, or he knew about this some time ago and did nothing, again, that piece of information doesn't exist yet, then he should be fired. But we're not. anywhere close to that yet, and the issue shouldn't be we should fire somebody about it, that we should fix this, because I guarantee you the backlog doesn't exist only in Phoenix. Here's who should lead the way on not politicizing this. John fucking McCain. That's his job.
Yeah.
This is a chance to actually do it. Like, just take a deep fucking breath and you be the Republican who leads on it, and if in the process you irritate Mitch McConnell and right-wingers in the House who want to hold hearings, good. This is the time to do it.
Yeah. And by the way, like, I understand, $21 billion to provide these extra benefits to the soldiers. That's a lot of money. We're trying to lower the deficit in the country. I understand that. But just today I was reading a report that the Air Force came to Congress and said, okay, this is how many aircraft we're going to buy of this particular type. I believe it's nicknamed the Grover. And the reason that they had to cut the number is because they're currently under an obligation to cut over a certain span of time $1 trillion from their operating budget. And they said this will save a certain number of several tens of billions of dollars. And the Republicans in Congress responded by saying, no, you're not going to buy that many planes. You're going to buy this many planes. More than you say you actually need to fight the wars that we're going to send you into, you have to buy those extra planes. And so they're perfectly fine with having more planes than the Air Force needs, graveyards of tanks in the American Southwest, but they're not paying for the healthcare obligations for soldiers that they sent into war who got injured there.